Fire! Fire! My house is on fire! Help! Oh my gosh! Did I really just burn down my investment? I mean, they said that investing in real estate was risky. Is it?
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
You've wanted it. Today, I am delivering it. We are talking about the top 5 dangers of investing in real estate. There are some favorite fantasies. It's like, Kris, I use my money, I invested in real estate, and for me, it's like this ticking time bomb that is waiting to go off. Whoa. Woo, narrow miss. Ultimately, everyone wants to know, Kris, if I invest in real estate the right way, is it gonna make me money, or is it gonna smell like a big pile of doggy poo-poo? Well, the truth is, real estate could end up being the worst thing you ever do, could end up also being the best thing you've ever done, as long as you know how to watch out for these 5 warning signs that if they go wrong, you're not gonna like it. You know, if you were to ask Investopedia if it's safe to invest in real estate, here's what they would tell you. Since 2013, real estate has ranked as the top investment pick for a majority, 35% of Americans, according to a Gallup's annual economy and personal finance survey that was conducted in early April 2020. So we're going back over the last 7 years. That puts real estate ahead of stocks, mutual funds, savings accounts, gold, and bonds as the most favored investment. So a lot of people out there, common consensus is we like real estate investing. We feel like it's pretty safe. And yet, why is it my comments are always of people asking, Kris, what happens if my tenant doesn't pay? What if they beat up the property? What if my property is vacant for a really long period of time? Will I regret having invested in real estate? Investopedia might be claiming that real estate is one of the top investment picks, but it begs the question, is it safe? Just like any investment, real estate investing has risks. In fact, there are 5 real estate investment risks that you're definitely going to watch out for when it comes to buying property. And the truth is, you can mitigate most of these risks. That means that you can select real estate investments where those risks are very, very low. And that way you're controlling them, and obviously you're exposing the higher upside and the chances for you to make a lot of money. Sometimes real estate can feel like rolling the dice. Because you know what? Number one, it's got some huge major unpredictability. You've been around for the last decade, so first of all, you were here 2008 likely when you saw the real estate market just crash. And this wasn't like certain markets. This was everywhere. The real estate prices depreciated. That means that they went down in value. A lot of homes went into foreclosure. They went back to the bank. And people were terrified for years to be in the real estate investment game. And also, don't forget 2020, right? One of the craziest, weirdest years of all. Who knew that in some far-off country that some bat biting a piece of poop eating human alien would actually create some kind of disease that spreads all over the planet and creates this whole like fiasco we've been in? And what did that do to the game of real estate? Well, it changed it in a really big way. When people get hurt by real estate, there's usually 2 core problems as to why. Either they bought too expensive of a home or they bought a home in the wrong location. If you want to solve for unpredictability as best you can, you take a look at my real estate. How come I fared so well during the eviction moratorium when the government said, hey, all you people that can't afford to pay rent, if you can't pay rent, don't worry about it. We'll just have the landlord eat it. Well, I wasn't eating it because my core properties are single family homes that are bought below the median. That means that my average purchase price is around $200,000. And you know what that does? It means that you have the highest population of people wanting single family homes in that price range, and that created a lot of protection for myself. I also bought real estate in areas that were desirable, where people wanted to be. So I'm not talking about slums or buying on the wrong side of the railroad tracks. I'm talking about desirable, relatively new homes where people are thinking, now that's a community that I want to live in. And that meant that when a lot of real estate was going through challenges, that was the least impacted area because you had the largest population saying, well, listen, that at least is the most desirable real estate. Have you ever heard that adage in real estate? Location, location, location.
Location, location, location.
It's this whole idea that if you're gonna make really good money in real estate, you should be looking at the location where you're gonna be buying it. Turns out that the second greatest risk, according to Investopedia, that people fear when they're getting in the game of real estate is what happens if they buy in a location that's not good. I mean, have you ever gone to a restaurant and you're like, wow, this food's amazing, but it's never gonna survive in this part of town. It's like your instinct just knows this is like not in the right place. Well, in real estate, that's not very different. When you're buying investment grade real estate that you wanna hold on to and rent out for a long-term investment, you gotta be asking yourself, are you investing in the path of progress, the part of the town where people wanna be, or are you kind of on the outskirts, on the out and out, kind of in the slum-like areas? This is actually a really big factor when it comes to investing in real estate successfully. You know, for a guy who has facilitated thousands of single-family purchases and doing it out of state nonetheless, I've become a bit of an expert when it comes to buying the right kind of real estate. And you know what? Turns out that if you want to select the right location, in general, it's about buying in an area that's going to generate the highest return on your investment. Well, what area is going to do that? Well, this is actually quite common sense. Do you live in a nice neighborhood or an ugly neighborhood? Is this a desirable location? Like, have you looked at the schools and the shopping nearby? Is it near or in a master plan community? Is there a large tenant pool of people that are saying, I can't wait to get in that neighborhood? Those are the things that I naturally look for, because what that's going to do is two things. Number one, it's going to drive down my vacancies, which means that the longer my house isn't empty, that's more mortgage payments I'm not going to have to cover and pay. But then why do I want to be in the nicer parts of town, even if I'm in that entry level below the median price point? It means that in those parts of town, you typically have tenants that make a certain amount of money. My sweet spot is that if you have a tenant that makes $60,000 a year or more, guess what? They have a really high likelihood of making their payments. They're not going to beat up the place. They're not going to trash the place. And that little hack has saved me a lot of money. The third greatest risk of investing in real estate is called negative cash flow. And you might be asking yourself, Kris, what is negative cash flow? Let me demonstrate. This is typically a newer investor saying, hey, I'm so excited to get in the game that if I just buy an investment property, it means I'm an investor, right? Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a successful investor. For example, hey, Kris, check this out. Prices on property have gone up a lot. I bought this house for $350,000. And I know that that is way higher than the national median. I kind of broke your rule. And as a result, my mortgage payment on this property is, we'll just call it $2,100 a month. But something really weird happened. It's like the prices have gone up in value, but the rents haven't yet. So guess what? I finally got a renter in there, and that renter is paying $1,800 a month. Now let's just do some simple math. My mortgage and expenses are $2,100 a month. The renter's paying $1,800 a month. Looks like that's a difference of missing $300 a month. Who's paying that? You see this negative symbol? That is evil. It means minus. It means that you're coughing up $300 every month. And here's why that's not cool. What happens if there's an expense on top of that? What happens if they move out for a month and it takes 2 or 3 months to get a new renter? Who's stroking the check for all those missed expenses? That's you. You're actually paying for all of it. That's what we call a negative cash flow. That's what we typically call a novice investor. So rule number one, if you are going to buy real estate, buy smart. Make sure that after all your expenses go out the door, that the rents and money coming back in are not equal to, but are more than your expenses. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to avoid negative cash flow, because what you're going to do is you're going to project your expenses and your rents. And that's known information. It's easy to get. But if you were wanting to avoid a negative cash flow, here's what you'd want to watch for. If you have a property that is hard to rent, that could yield a negative cash flow. If there's too much in maintenance, like, oh, I bought this thing ancient old, and as a result, it has constant repairs more than the rents that I'm picking up. If it has a high financing cost, like, I just picked this house up at a 7% interest rate, a 13% interest rate. Like, my credit's not so good, I decided to use it anyway, and the bank screwed me over on the interest rate, and I signed the dotted line because I was an eager beaver. Not charging enough rent, this is very typical. You get these landlords that have these bleeding hearts. They forget that it's a business. And so year over year over year, 5 years have gone by, rents have gone up a total of $350 in the area, and they just can't bring themselves to do it because they know this family that they've rented it out to, and they just can't, they just couldn't live with this if they did that. Don't be that guy. And then lastly, not using the best rental strategy, right? I mean, by the way, if you are in a negative cash flow, make sure you pick up a freaking copy of this book. It will save your bacon. It's called The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth. It'll show you how to take a rental and turn it into a lease option. With the typical lease option, you're going to pick up $200, $300, $400 more a month. You're going to collect a $3,000, $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 down payment. And a lease option is how you save your bacon when you're too close to being at that break even or even negative on your cash flow. There was this house like in my backyard. It was beautiful, and I had an opportunity to buy it $150,000 below its value. And I was like, man, this kind of makes me a little bit skeptical. There's got to be a story. Why would the bank take this $500,000 house and give it that much of a discount? I was thinking there must be something wrong with it. Couldn't find it out, so I got it under contract. And the inspector that was supposed to dig in was like late and delayed. And so I'm moving forward on the financing. I'm getting ready to pull the trigger. I'm going to buy this house. And you know what happened? The inspector finally got the report to me. He said, hey, Kris, the left side of this house structurally is sinking, as in it'll probably cost you $50,000 to $100,000 to jack it up and fix it. And all of a sudden, I understood why I was getting that crazy discount. It was about to literally put me in the hole and completely screw me over. Which brings me to Quattro, hidden structural problems. Right now, when you have a structural problem, it's not like a $500 fix or a $2,000 fix. This can be tens of thousands of dollars. In some cases, it can even require the need to demo the house, as in the city will not actually give an occupancy permit. So what kind of structural problems exist with real estate? If you live in an area that has termites, if you don't have an inspector go out, guess what you might find? That like the wood holding the house up's been all rotten and eaten by termites. You could have a huge mold problem. You could have a meth problem. Dude, you literally could have the house sliding out from right under your feet. In my area, there's a lot of houses that live on these benches. And if you're not careful, if they didn't engineer them right, they just kind of slide off the mountain a little bit and kind of negate, I don't know, all the value. Structural problems are not to scoff at, and you don't want to be caught with your pants down on a real estate property that has structural issues. Man, Kris, I am never going to invest in real estate based on what you just said. Turns out there's a really easy solution, and it is called getting an inspection. You know, they're optional. You could waive your right to an inspection, but I pay for an inspection on every single property, and most of the time, it's not revealing anything that you couldn't see with your own naked eyes when my buyer, my contractor, someone went through the property. I'm actually looking for these structural issues because the moment I smell of one, I'm out of there and I'm not buying that property. Get one of those inspections every single time. And then of course, we've got risk number 5, evil tenants. I'm talking about professional renters. I'm talking about people that just, when they have a financial struggle, the first thing they're gonna do is skip out on their rent. They're not gonna pay their mortgage. And you know, that is counterintuitive to most people. Most people think my biggest and most important expense is the roof over my head. I ain't messing with that. Same thing like your cell phone. You think people ever like skip out on paying their cell phone bill? No, because they need their magic black box device that connects them to the whole world that tells them what's up and down, left and right? Well, in the game of real estate, while most people would never think of defaulting on their rent, I've learned that there's a group of people out there called professional renters, and the moment they're struggling financially, they're thinking, hey, the easiest way for me to solve my problem is to take out my biggest expense. Can I get my landlord to go easy on me? I'm going to give you some tips on how to avoid bad tenants, but here's a couple things I want you to be aware of. You're looking for people that have a history of not paying on time. Those people aren't going to change their ways with a snap of a finger. You're going to get upside down with them. Or if they trash the property, you walk on the property and things don't look put away and it gets worse every single time you go there, chances are that's the kind of person that's also not going to pay. They don't report maintenance issues so that you start building that up. They host extra roommates for bringing a little extra cash, and they ignore their tenant responsibilities, which of course can get someone kicked out of a property. All of those are warning signs. I got 2 tips from you to watch out for tenants that may not pay on time. Number 1, if you are a landlord and they're gonna come by and check out the house, just like circle by their car and take a look in the window. If their car is trashed, if their car is unorganized, I promise you that's what they're gonna do to your house. But you know what? The second tip is probably even more important. Don't be a landlord, right? If you've got a soft heart and you're not used to being in the business and you don't have a little bit of bulldog in your DNA, there's a good chance that you're going to get taken advantage of. It does cost money to hire a property manager, but you know that money that you pay out the door means that you've got third-party representation. And those people can be cold-blooded killers. They're like, yep, I get it. Things have been tough for you. Please default on some other thing. Do not default on here because we will follow the local laws of the land and you will get kicked out. Sorry. If you don't pay your rent, I'm going to snap my fingers. The risks in real estate are real, but you know what? I have saved as a bonus my best piece of advice for you. You know, you can't always control whether you get a good tenant or a bad tenant, but something you can control is your profitability. It's up to you to get your hands on the very best deal. And I'm going to tell you right now, sure, do I insure my properties? Yeah, there could be a fire or something could go down. Could I hire the best property management company? Or could I learn how to be a pro landlord? Well, you can do all of those things. But you know what? There's no better offense than a really good deal in the game of real estate. So really, if you want to successfully win the game of real estate, you should focus, number one, on profitability. You should ask, what property can I get at the biggest discount? Even in today's market, what property can I get that's going to give me the highest cash flow? Did you know that I have built a software that will reveal in the country, yes, even in your backyard, the deals that have the most equity? Literally with one push of a button, it's programmed to show you the properties that could potentially be the very best deals for you to call on and try to strike up a deal. It'll also help you understand cash flows for the areas and above all, ROI. What is going to make me the most money? And if you're interested in what that software is, it does cost a little bit of money, but I actually am running a free trial on it so you can get your hands on your first couple of deals at no cost. If you click the link below, you're going to learn about Kris Krohn House Finder. It's going to help you understand how to produce a predictable ROI. You literally can search in your entire area for the deals in the right location that will make you the most money. You could also search the best markets because you can use this tool anywhere in the world. It'll show you, by the way, you can make a list of people that are buying houses cash that you could partner with if you find a really good deal. And more importantly, it auto calculates the houses with the highest profitability, just with the stroke of the space bar. So check it out. If you want to learn how to get in the game of real estate, and if you want to invest, but you want to do it as intelligently as possible, and if you're truly a do-it-yourselfer, then click the link below, start your free trial, and literally within minutes, with one stroke of the keypad, you could find your next best deal. Honestly though, the biggest mistake that I see new investors make is they think that they need to invest locally in their backyard. Did you know that you could make double, triple, or quadruple the profits just by going to the very best markets? If you want to know the top 3 markets today, click this link, watch this video, and let me share with you the 3 markets that I'm investing in. Don't be that guy, Weaver. Weaver's like, camera's on, Kris gonna say something real dumb. What about the bird? Are we gonna get the bird in that one video?